Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free of centralized social media like X and all of those platforms. Yeah, X was recently banned in Brazil because they failed to name a legal representative in the country. And I think now's a good time for us to talk about decentralized social media, such as Bluesky, Mastodon, PixelFed, PeerTube, Owncast, Matrix, and many more platforms. But first, Codecrafters is an amazing platform for you to hone and improve your software development skills, allowing you to have challenges in all sorts of programming languages to build your own Redis server, build your own HTTP server, build your own interpreter, or, even build your own Git. You can basically remake a lot of popular projects out there running all sorts of languages. Just looking at this list here, they have Rust, Go, Python, C, C#, C++, Clojure, Crystal, Dart, Elixir, and the list goes on from there. So check out Codecrafters today in the link below and go and hone your software development skills. I know I'm going to be tinkering with them myself quite a bit. Social media has been an interesting phenomenon to see grow from basically nothing. I remember even when the internet was a hardwired thing where people had the understanding of you had to go to your computer to be connected, and you would actually be disconnected while you went to school, and you would go to your friend's house, and then you would pick up the landline at your friend's and basically call your parents and say that you got there safely. I remember when Twitter wasn't even a thing to when it became a thing. I remember when we finally went from slipping pieces of paper in the classroom to, by the time we were in high school, texting each other, even if it was a T9 on a cell phone, T9 keyboard. Remember, you had to press that button 3 times to get the right letter you needed, and when you didn't get the right one, you just kept cycling it all over again. But those Nokia 3310s were damn near indestructible. I remember seeing a Nokia 3310 literally break a toilet because it fell on it. Anyway, I remember when smartphones really became a thing and Twitter didn't even exist. The reason why Twitter has a 140 character limit was you would literally text in to Twitter to have your little tweets. And this was also back in the era when you would pay for your text messages. I think a lot of us that are around my age remember those commercials of, basically you can call free after 7 o'clock. Do you remember that? Don't call me until 7 o'clock. Yeah, that was a whole thing. I just lost a bunch of Gen Z people there. It's okay. You will understand how you feel old one day too when Gen Alpha gets to a certain age. It's how we feel around you. But anyway, with that being said, we remember the glory days of Twitter. I remember when social media had a chronological order to it, and we actually were connecting with our friends and our family to be actually social, not to argue with dumbasses all across the internet. Yeah, that's really changed. But anyway, we have seen, as Cory Doctorow has coined the term, of enshitification of the internet as we know it. And it has been a problem that we have seen across every single platform. Twitter used to be this amazing thing where you had to be on, and the great thing that Twitter had was that you could be there rubbing the shoulders virtually with, these celebrities. And then you had Facebook, where everyone thought that it would be the phone book of humanity. And then we had YouTube, which I'm posting this video to. It has its own issues. It seems to have not done so badly, but they still have the issues like the adpocalypse and things like that at times, and the tendency for you to spiral into a flat earther video and that cult-like mentality. But anyway, I'm getting a little bit on a tangent here. We have seen a problem with all of these different social medias with centralization, and eventually they get to a point where basically it's not that great anymore. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that, centralized social media it's not really sustainable. The problem with social media is that we have this problem where you can't have infinitesimal growth. And you, at a certain point, have to step back and just look around and be like, wow, I'm really in a room with a bunch of schmucks. That's how it really feels most of the time with social media. I mean, I remember when I was on TikTok. TikTok used to be this amazing platform. I went on TikTok because I got tired of the Facebook toxicity with different things, and it seemed where it once was a great place for you to connect with your friends and family turned into everyone arguing about a political discussion as if you were with Thanksgiving with that one relative that you really don't see most of the year, but somehow has that political opinion, and then it devolves into a political argument every single Thanksgiving. Somehow, you're really surprised it doesn't turn into a lunchroom food fight like you were back in high school. Anyway, I eventually went on TikTok because I got tired of the toxicity with Facebook, and I originally came for dog videos, and then somehow I became a tech content creator because I was bored in a house during the pandemic. I had a phone, just like many other people, and I started recording my 3D printing and my tech work and my home lab and my IT and cybersecurity work, and grew a following that as of this video, I have 371,000 followers. But TikTok has not been immune to this enshitification, and so Twitter has been falling victim to it as well. Originally, Twitter, was kind of just on its way out the door anyway, and just like slowly coming down a spiral. Then good old Tesla Muskie boy came in and bought the platform, indebted it with over $1 billion in debt of interest per year, buying it out for $44 billion, and it's just gotten worse and worse and worse. Yeah. Anyway, it's interesting to see where things have gone, and it seems like the world is about to go full circle as well, because people are talking about going into decentralized social media platforms, whether it be Mastodon, Bluesky, Matrix, PixelFed, Kbin, Lemmy, you name it. So, what are all these platforms? What the hell is this? And how do they work? And how do they fit into our future? Well, that's not something I'm hoping to decode for you, because I've been running my own Mastodon server for a couple years now, and I've actually been enjoying it a lot more than Twitter. And I have a really engaging audience over there. I have a Matrix server I spun up for the past year, and it's been a really fun experiment that I have actually think I'm going to stick around with it for a while, and maybe a lot of you will be interested in joining along with that journey too. So first, a little history on social media. So originally, there were these decentralized troves of social media. Email was, basically one of the first ones of social media. You had the bulletin board systems with BBS, where people would tell into these systems, and then you could actually have messages on these servers, play games with each other, and there would be forums and everything, all hosted by someone else, and in some cases, some companies. So that, in essence, was the first version of social media. You had IRC, Internet Relay Chat, where people would come in and they would chat on these different servers that were hosted and everything, sort of like a Discord before Discord. And you had all these different platforms. I remember in video games, before Discord was the common thing for everyone to go on, you had TeamSpeak and Ventrilo. I probably just unlocked some memories in some of my Millennial and Gen X friends, didn't I? I see it in your eyes, the 1,000-yard stare. But anyway, with that being said, eventually there came a point where everyone wanted to be on social media, but the problem was that, the internet of the time and the computers that we had were not that powerful. So we could not centralize or, host all this different data as well as we had hoped. That with the dot-com boom, then came the ability for companies to sprout up and host these resources for us. So that's where you had all these different companies come up with the ideas of hosting it. Originally, there was this thing called MySpace. I just unlocked a bunch of memories, didn't I, again, for a bunch of you millennials and Gen Xers. MySpace was essentially the gateway drug for a lot of my generation, and where a lot of us learned to overload our web pages with a bunch of sparkly GIFs and music that played without, any interaction, just to make your ears bleed as soon as you open that page. That is, if your Internet Explorer 6 browser was not going to crash because of all the crappy code that you had copied and pasted from your friends. Don't deny it. You know you did it. You know you were doing that. We were all that cringe. But with that being said, it was a great experience for us because all of us got to be friends with Tom. And if you don't know who Tom is, I'm sorry for you. You might have missed out on some of the golden years. But it was a great way for us to connect and remember about all these different bands and find new bands and know about what party you were and weren't invited to before Facebook was a thing. This was a glorious, wonderful time before we found out that Tila Tequila was a Nazi. Yeah, I looked her up recently because I was just curious when I had the MySpace thing come into my mind before making this video about what had happened to her. It's not very good. Nobody saw that coming. But anyway, MySpace eventually started to go down the toilet after I believe it had been acquired by a corporation, I can't remember who, and Mark Zuckerberg came around with Facebook. Facebook was originally for his Harvard buddies, and it's kind of interesting about what it was originally used for. I heard stories about apparently it was used to kind of just rate other people, if you know what I mean. I'm not going to go too into that because I do want to get monetized one day, and if this video still happens to be up when I'm monetized, I don't want to get, burned for that. But anyway, Facebook eventually got opened up beyond just people with a .edu email address. I remember my first Facebook profile was actually created by my girlfriend at the time. When I think I was in 7th grade. I did not even care to be on Facebook. But, she was in Michigan, I was in another state, and we had to keep in touch somehow. Ah, young love. I was like, what, 13? Yeah. Youth groups were fun. Anyway, with that being said, we had Facebook, and Facebook was this great way for us to easily connect with each other. I remember sharing videos and pictures with my friends with all of our funny things, and we also had the coming of YouTube. I remember when YouTube was a very basic thing that people were making videos on, not even thinking that this could possibly be a career to make money on. I remember when YouTube didn't even have ads. Hell, I just remembered about E-Bombs World and all those other things. I remembered browsing through the internet and you'd see a beheading just randomly. Probably like 2 to 3 beheadings per week. Yeah, the clear net is just as scary as what people think the dark net actually is, but the dark net's not that scary. We'll get onto that in another subject. But, so what exactly is the Fediverse? Well, the Fediverse is a federated system. Think of this like Star Trek. No, I'm not a Trekkie. I just know this reference because they have the Federation, and those people that like Star Trek won't shut up about it. You can type angrily in the comments below if you want. I won't hate you for that, but Stargate guy over here. SG-1. The Federated Universe is a federation of different servers that can all talk together and create one singular social media network. Unlike you have Facebook, you have TikTok, you have Twitter, you have Tumblr, you have all these different social media networks all siloed against each other. So I had to have your Tumblr, then you logged into your Facebook, then you logged into your Twitter, then you logged into your email, and then you had all these different things. Now, what if you could combine a lot of those different networks and have them federated to talk to each other? More or less, that's what the Fediverse is. So, I've been playing with Mastodon years ago, off and on. I remember when I first tried Mastodon because I was first upset with Twitter. I originally started with it thinking, wow, this is great, but nobody's really here. And that was really more of the case for a long time. You had Mastodon.social as the main server, and a lot of people could talk with each other, and it was kind of shouting into an empty room. There was maybe, I would say, a few 100,000 people at most on the entirety of the Fediverse when I started playing with it. So I would come in and leave, and then come back in and leave, just to, see how it was going. And this all seemed like a really, really great idea. Until the Enshitification of the social media networks began. And I really think Musky Boy set it all off. Because if you look at the Mastodon statistics, there are now millions of people on there. And the beautiful thing about Mastodon is it is not a singular network in and of itself. There are thousands of different servers on Mastodon that all talk to each other. And with a federated system, you can join anyone's server, or you can make your own server. And then when you have your own server, you can choose which servers you want to be federated or defederated from. So I've been able to curate my actual federated feed, as we call it, a lot better. But Mastodon doesn't just stop at Mastodon. See, Mastodon is based on this thing called ActivityPub. And if I'm running through a lot of this stuff, there is a website called fedi.tips I will put down in the description below, which can help you get through a lot of this understanding as well. Well, Mastodon is running on a protocol called ActivityPub, which is an open source, open protocol that is even being adopted by Meta's Threads. That's right, Threads is part of the Fediverse. Yes, get to that in a little bit because there's a little bit of nuance with how they do it and how a lot of people are perceiving them because Zuckerberg. With that being said, Mastodon has the ability that since it runs on ActivityPub, an open protocol, any other server that is actually using ActivityPub can then interact with it. So you have this whole network of things like PixelFed, which is like a federated version of Instagram. You have another thing like what is it? You have Kbin, which is like Reddit, but federated. Lemmy, which does the same thing. Funkwhale, like Spotify. You have all these different social media networks that all can talk to each other, and I haven't even mentioned all of them. There's even a thing coming out called Loops, which is like a TikTok equivalent that can work on the Fediverse. You have PeerTube, which is like a YouTube equivalent. You want to stream on the Fediverse? You can use either PeerTube or this thing called Owncast. There are so many different platforms out there that you can create your own slice of the internet. And a lot of people have been worried, for good or bad reasons, about being censored off the internet, and this is one place they can go to, instead of looking at Rumble and all those other networks and being like, ugh. You then can be like, hey, they have that. I either like their stuff or I can defederate from them. Not going to get into the politics of that side of thing. That's the beautiful thing. Freedom of choice, as well as freedom of association. Yes. So those of you that are talking about, free speech, yes, there are some free speech absolutist servers out there. Take that with what you will about it. And a lot of people do choose to defederate from them. That's their choice for freedom of association. But there's the ActivityPub that allows all of them to talk to each other. And again, you can go to the website fedi.tips to understand a lot of the things there. I've been using Mastodon for a couple of years, and it's been great. My Mastodon account is actually twice as large as my Twitter account ever was, and I have far more engagement that when I actually go live on my Twitch, I actually have people join from Mastodon. Believe that. Whereas Twitter, I can make a post out there that I'm now live on Twitch, and you would maybe see somebody like it or interact with it 3 or 4 days later, whereas they come in on during my stream. Now, ActivityPub is not the only protocol that is out there. There's, of course, chat apps, because Mastodon is a microblogging service. A lot of these haven't really discussed chatting. Mastodon does have the ability for you to do private messaging, but it's not encrypted messaging, and it's not that secure. But, it's secure insofar as if you trust your server that you're running on and the server that you're communicating with. But with Matrix, there's a whole other protocol called the Matrix Protocol. Matrix allows for decentralized, private, and even encrypted chats and chat rooms, which is one of the things that Telegram got in trouble with because they're not actually encrypted and all that, but you can go see the video there where I talk about that issue right now. The really cool thing when it comes to Matrix isn't just that it can do these decentralized chats amongst itself with the Matrix protocol as well as encrypted chats. You can also create bridges, so you could actually have your Matrix app talk to people on Signal Telegram, if you really want to still do that at this point, or WhatsApp, or all these different other chat apps that you're using. So you can have one app to rule them all, and one app in the darkness to bind them. Yes, that is a Lord of the Rings reference for geeks around here. Deal with it. But with that being said, Matrix is another service that you can join another server, sign up, agree to the rules of that server, and the other option is that you can always, spin up your own server and federate with other Matrix servers. Like, I know Louis Rossmann actually runs his own Matrix server. And it's great. You can chat with other like-minded people on a server that you trust. You can create rooms on in those areas and all that. And they can actually moderate as they see fit. Now, there's other protocols too. Not just those two. I mean, there's, Zot, and there's DFNR. We're not going to get into that. There's, Friendica and tons of other platforms out there. You can go look on Fedi.tips again to go check all of those out. I'm just kind of giving you the high level of what I've seen with this. And it is a really great platform. Matrix is, to chat with all of your friends and everything, and it's growing more and more. In fact, there are governments that are actually using it for their independent chatting applications and then can use it to federate to each other. There's apparently even militaries that are using it too. So, it's apparently pretty trustworthy. So, I think it's something that's worthwhile looking into. The beautiful thing of the Fediverse is that your data is your data. What I mean by that is, well, just like Bender, screw you guys, I'm going to make my own roller coaster theme park with hookers and blackjack. Yeah, you can do that. So let's say you do have an issue with the server that you're hosting on. You can actually take your Mastodon profile, and soon even Threads. Threads has actually said this. Go check the FAQ. They have this in their information. So you can actually take your profile with your entire audience and move it to another server. So imagine, if you will, you join Mastodon.social. That's your little toe in the water, and then you decide, I want to make my own server, or my friend is another server. You can export your profile and join their server. And all the people that you followed and all that, you just move over. And the most you might want to do, don't need to do, is make a new post announcing that you've moved the server, and that will just kind of liven up the connections with all of your friends and everything, so that the servers that they're on just kind of become aware of your server, because if you're on a small server, it may not federate that much, and that's where relays and all that can come into play. But that's, again, check Fedi.tips for all that nuance and everything. That's what I basically did with my own server. And I have my own Mastodon server that I have had hosted for me, and I have a managed host that I pay a little bit of Bitcoin for, and they take care of it for me. Now, admittedly, Mastodon does need a good chunk of performance, because when you get pretty well federated, it takes a little bit of performance to keep up in that, and if you get viral, yeah, your server just kind of gets hit. Yeah. But anyway, it's beautiful because you will have the ability to export your profile. One day, Threads is going to have that capability where you're going to be able to say, you know what? Threads, it's been nice knowing you. I'm going to take my profile with all my followers and move them over here. And then suddenly, Becky on Threads can then be talking to me over on my Mastodon server, and then I only am beholden to the rules on my server. But then, let's also be clear here, if the server that your friends are hosted on has issues with the server that you're on, let's say you get to be on a pretty toxic server, they can defederate from you. But then you can say, well, I don't like this server either, so then you can just move around. You now don't have to worry about the issue of the one-size-fits-all pajama of censorship rules and everything that, people accuse things of with different social media. When we look back and we say, man, this social media wasn't as great as it once was. My feed has only been getting better over time with Mastodon, because I can curate this. And this is one thing that you should know when it comes to social media that is on the Fediverse. It's like a garden. to have a good garden, you have to go in and you have to clear weeds out once in a while. But it also, you gotta water it. You gotta make sure you plant seeds in the right rows and do a little bit of prep and everything like that. It did take me, honestly, a good couple of weeks to seed my own Mastodon server until I was very happy with the results I was getting. And you can, make your own Mastodon server and make whatever rules you want. And to be clear, when I say server, I'm not talking about the haphazard, definition that Discord has of a Discord server, because that's not a real server. That's a freaking group channel. That's not a server. You're still on their infrastructure. You're still beholden to Discord, and they can go through and see everything that you have and all that. That's up for debate whether that's good or not. But I still have my Discord. Don't get me wrong. Because that's still a popular platform for a lot of people to use, and that's where I have a great community. But I also have my Matrix server, where we chat. And I once in a while get so ADHD I forget I have Matrix. I'm getting better about that. Especially when I realize the credit card hits the hosting fees. That's a good reminder. But anyway, with that being said, there's a whole bunch of ways that you can actually hold your own audience and not have to worry about a platform going down. Or, having this issue of, I don't like how these things are run, I'm going to do it myself. So you can literally go and do the bender of, I'm going to make my own social media server with hookers and blackjack. If you want to have NSFW content on your server, by all means, just please hit the sensitive media tag so that it blurs it out for us, and then we actually have to click the button, because some of us are actually at work looking for content. Although some of the people, like my moderator, likes to go for femboys when he's editing my clips. This part was just for you, buddy. Just for you, okay? Why do I think that you're just going to clip this part out anyway? But with that being said, it's a beautiful thing I think everyone should go try out. You should do some research into Mastodon and all the different social medias out there. There's also Bluesky. I wish I would cut the video right now, but I have to actually talk about Bluesky. So Bluesky is still pretty much in beta. It is a platform I have an account on, but unfortunately Bluesky is not that good. I wanted to think of something great for it, but it's not that good. It's not that ready. They want to have this AI moderated protocol and everything like that, but you still can't run your own server right now properly as intended. So it's not really decentralized as of this post. That may change when you watch this video 3 or 4 years from now, and I kind of cringe at how I'm creating videos now, because if I'm still making YouTube videos from now on, in 3-4 years from now, I'm either going to be looking back at, my God, do you remember when I thought that I was actually going to make YouTube videos and be a YouTuber? Or I'm going to look back at God, I really sucked at editing. But with that being said, Bluesky, you can, send your messages out there. Now, the fun thing is, on Twitter, they call them tweets. On Mastodon, we call them toots. I know they changed it to the post button, but it will forever be called toots in my mind, and I have modified my Mastodon UI to look like that, and that's another cool thing, because it's your own server. You can customize it to be however you want. And in mine, I give it a Twitter-like UI, but I have an elephant with a farting emoji, because we're all just farting into the internet. Be that as it may, Bluesky, we like to call them skeets. Skeet, motherfucker! Yeah, Little John on the East Side, boys. I don't think those censors really knew what they were doing with us. If they actually knew what skeet meant before they actually, let that be in, skeet, 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 Because I think looking back at it, they kind of are just more aghast at that they actually allowed that in. Again, another tangent. Sorry, ADHD. Hello. But with that being said, I don't think Bluesky is really ready, and when I was on there, it felt more like I was shouting into the void, whereas Mastodon, even when I didn't have any followers, I could have some conversations. I think to this date, I've only had maybe 5 or 6 or 7 interactions. Although, to be fair, I kind of gave up on it after several months because it was kind of like yelling into an echo chamber. And Yeah, it was not really great. But maybe it'll change. I know Jack Dorsey, the original founder of Twitter and all that, has been like really invested in that. But then Bluesky also had their own set of scandals. We can get into that another time. But needless to say, decentralized social media is kind of where I think a lot of things are trending, especially with the European Union's DSA, Digital Services Act, which is actually, or is it the Digital Markets Act? One of the two is requiring you to have portable accounts and be able to export your data. So decentralized social media, I think, is something that's going to be here to stay, and the fact that Meta is embracing Threads tells me a lot, because Threads is building towards being interoperable with the Fediverse. I can already follow Threads accounts from my Mastodon. I see you, Zuck. But yeah, it's, I think, a really interesting thing. Everyone should honestly give a try. I've been using the Fediverse for a couple of years now, and honestly, I've been really loving it. Now, I'm still on Twitch. I am still obviously on YouTube, where this video is, but probably will be re-uploaded to PeerTube. Hi, Fediverse! How you doing, guys? But I'm kind of in a little bit of both worlds. But to be fair, just like cryptocurrency, I didn't do this for we're going to the moon. I did this because, ooh, tech, fun, interesting, new, exciting. Let me tinker. Maybe this works out, and I think it pretty much will. Maybe it won't, and I'm completely wrong. And again, we'll be looking back at this video in a few years and cringing at the fact that I actually made this video. But anyway, I think it's worth a try for all of us to look at. And I think the decentralization of the internet is the future, because centralized social media is not sustainable. In the long term, I don't really see how it's going to be sustainable. Infinitesimal growth is just something that can't happen. Now, a lot of these social media networks started out in the dot-com boom or the fallout thereof, and basically are still with the understanding of, well, we can just grow and grow and grow. But even companies like Facebook have hit everywhere on Earth, to the point they have to build internet in areas to grow them more. Yeah, it's kind of interesting if you learn about some of the societies that apparently have been introduced to the internet and just how quickly they've decayed because of the internet being brought to them when they didn't have the internet before. Really interesting stuff. But I'm going to be interested to see where this goes. And of course, I'm going to be talking about this and other technologies in the future. But please, like and subscribe. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. And check out all of my social media, especially those on the Fediverse. See you around. Happy hacking.